So in this case, do you know what this 3 would represent when you have those large blocks like the ones we can see right here on the screen? Okay, like the ones we can see on the screen, they would be these 3 blocks like this. Do you know how many these little units would be in each of these blocks? It would be 100 in each, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So each of these large blocks, they stand for 100, right? And then these lines right for 4 tenths, how do we represent 4 tenths? We have this, right? This long rod. And how many of these little squares are in these long rods?
10.
It would be 10. Thank you. So then to represent this number, how many of the long rods would I draw?
4.
4. Thank you. So now I'm going to do, and it's going to look a little bit like this. Of course, I didn't draw my lines inside, but I'm going to do, write down another number. And I want you to draw it out and represent it. So it'll be 4 and 7 tenths. And every time I say and, it's because of the decimal. The decimal is where you would say and.
Yes,
so we're going to do 4 and 7 tenths. So could you draw that for me? How many of the 4s would there be? Huh?
4
hundreds. Okay. And then how many of these 7 tenths would you do?
7.
Of the long rods, right? Because they have tenths in each. And how many of those would they equal? How much would it equal?
70.
70. Of course, on here we don't have our 0, right? Because it's just imaginary. But we can put it and it'll still be the same number, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good job, Arthur. So now that you understand place value and you know where everything goes, I want you, we're going to start doing how to divide decimals, okay? So the first example that I want you to do is, let's do 0 and 72 hundredths divided by 6. Okay, so we're going to do this in standard algorithm, and that's just the regular dividing. Okay, okay, so I want you to know that the 0 and 72 hundredths is always the total you have. Okay, so this is going to be the total you have. And we want to divide this total into 6 groups because this second number right here is the total of groups you have. Okay? So what do you think we're trying to find?
How many numbers will there be, boxes, decimals will there be in each group?
Well, they're called units or box. They would be how many, let's say, for example, since in this case we're going to afterwards we're going to draw it inside of these little the graphing with the models. You want to know how many of the little cubes are going to be in each group, and you know you have 6 groups, right? And a total of 72 hundredths. So we're just trying to find how many of those little boxes are going to be in each group. So we know that that's our total. This is the number of groups we have. So we're going to start by practicing this one. And you know the 6 goes outside of your house. And then the 0.72. Okay. So this, first of all, the 6 go into 0.
No.
So what we do? We would put a 0 on top. So we wouldn't lose our place value. And so we won't lose our place value.
You put
We
your
can put our decimal, exactly, put our decimal right above. So since it didn't go into 0, does 6 go into 7?
Yes.
How many times?
One time.
Okay. And where would you put your 1?
On top of the 7.
Right on top of the 7, so we won't lose our place value, right? So 6, yes, we would subtract 6. 7 minus 6 is what?
1.
Does 6 go into 1?
No, man.
It doesn't, right? So what do you think you would do next?
Bring down the 2.
Yes, you could bring down the 2 and make it 12. So how many times does 6 go into 12?
2.
And where would you put your 2?
On top of the 2.
Okay. So you would subtract the 12. And how many remainders would you have?
0.
0. So you have 0. So now you know that there's going to be 12 hundredths in each of the groups. Okay? So good job on doing that one. Now I want you to actually do a real problem. And I'm going to give you this small worksheet that I've created for you. And I want you to do the first one. I want you to actually do the second one since we already did the first one. I want you to do the second one. I'm going to give you a blank sheet of paper where you can actually work it out. If it doesn't fit there, and then you're going to fill in the model with the number of groups you have and how many in each group. So in this case, you're dividing 5 into 65 hundredths, right?
Yes, ma'am.
See, I mean into 65 tenths. There would be how many rods would there be of those long 10 ones?
6.
There would be 6, and then how many of the little cubes would you fill in?
60. 65.
So there would be how many of the long ones would you fill in?
6.
And then of the just individual ones?
5.
5, because it makes 65. Okay, so you want to go ahead and work it out? Okay, good job. So how many would there be in each group?
13.
13. So there would be 13 little cubes in each group. And how many groups are there?
5.
5. So do you want to draw that right here in the model? So what you're going to do is like we did in the other one. We just, we shaded in 13 little cubes, and that made a group, and then we underlined it. Do you want to go ahead and do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So good job. I see that right here. You did 5 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can show how you did them. And in each group you put 13. Now, could you put your answer right here so we know how many you put?
Yes, ma'am.
Good job. So we see that you put your decimal. That's good. You never forget your decimal. And you put 13 in each group. And there's 5 groups. And you divided them with the models. So now I want to do something a little bit different. We made this worksheet where you're going to get to use a QR reader to scan to check for your answer afterwards. And have you ever used the QR reader before? No? It's your first time? Okay, so we're going to use it. So the way you do it is I want you to actually work out a problem using the standard algorithm that we've been using. And afterwards, we're going to use this app where you actually get to read the QR code, and then it's going to tell you if your answer was right. So we're going to go ahead and do this first one, which is 3 divided into 1 and 2/10, which is that one. And so we're going to go through this problem together. So how many groups should there be?
4.
4 groups. Do you want to check again how many groups maybe there should be? If you're dividing 1 and 2/10 divided by 3.
3 groups.
There's going to be 3 groups because remember, our second number is always the number of groups. And what is the total that there's going to be?
1.2.
1.2. So that's 1 and 2/10. So we know that the 1 is the hundreds, right? So how many of this large box should there be?
1.
1. And how many of the tenths should there be?
2.
2. So do you want to go ahead and work it out right here on the side, and then we can check. Good job. So how many would be in each group of the 3?
4.
4 of the long rods? Okay. So do you want to check which one of those answer choices had that? H, okay. So now you get to use the QR reader and scan it and see if you got the right answer. See, I think you have to tap it. There you go. Was it? Okay, yeah, I was correct. Give me a high five. Good job. Okay, so that has completed our lesson. And so do you understand more how you would divide a decimal, and how the second number would be your number of groups, and then that first number that you're trying to divide by, that would be the total of how much there's in total? And you're trying to find what?
The number of square cubes that going to be in each group.
In each group. Good job. So I know you said that like about 2 or 3 weeks you were taught this in class, in your math class, but you didn't really get which one was your groups and what were you really trying to find. So now